Alright, I'm not going to do that much of an introduction, but welcome to Layer 3. This is pretty much where stuff starts to move away from focusing on Lostwave and just being about internet music mysteries in general, and all that jazz, so you get the drill, whatever. Just want to give a thank you to these people for helping. I really appreciate what you've done, and with that out of the way, let's move on to Layer 3. Starting off Layer 3 with a personal favourite of mine, Wait Forever, which is a still unidentified Lostwave song, and as of January of 2025, there's barely anything known about it. The song was originally uploaded to YouTube by Nikyle7 on November 1st of 2011, with the title simply being Unknown Song. The description, however, gives us a bit more context, as it says that Nikyle was sent the song by an unknown person, with them saying that it could be Intentions Wait Forever, which leads into the second upload of the song by Scientronic, which is simply titled Intentions Wait Forever. Now, whether this is legit is up for debate, but Scientronic is ignoring any questions given, and the song is in lower quality. Now that could mean good signs, but it is shorter than the original upload, so this is most likely a fake lead. Another small thing I want to note is the image used in Scientronic's video. Many people thought it was the cover for the album which Wait Forever came from, but that's actually false, as the image was used for the cover of Climatique Nouveau by the group Ceramic Hello. Why I think this image was used is probably due to the fact that Scientronic uploads similar sounding music, and Wait Forever and Ceramic Hello's songs are kind of similar, so I guess they're his type of music, so that's why he decided to use it. What we do know, however, are a couple of things. First is that it's most likely from German or French origin, as the vocalist has been speculated to have a German or French accent, and honestly, I'm split. I can personally hear both really. Secondly, it's rumored by some to be from a lost German compilation album, although this can't be proven whatsoever. Now lastly, there is some sort of lead, of which being that it's rumored to be Stay With Me Tonight by Dirk Schubert. This lead has unfortunately since gone cold, but realistically speaking, it's probably not, as Wait Forever is 3 minutes and 35 seconds in length, while Stay With Me Tonight is said to be 3 minutes and 40 seconds in length. And knowing copyright databases personally, they can be inaccurate in some details, so it's still up in the air whether it is or not. But we have to contact Dirk to confirm this. Until then, this song remains pretty much a cold case. Jenny is a song by Fex, who, as you all know, made the most mysterious song on the internet. When Fex were discovered, Margin was sent across 3 songs by them, of which being Subways of Your Mind, Heart in Danger, and Talking Hands. Jenny was not one of them, but just a couple hours after all this info came to light, more German grooves on YouTube would upload the song. They ripped it from a compilation LP titled Zeus Newcomer Show Zeus Top Hits, which was a compilation album of songs from various small bands around that time, and Fex was one of these. What's interesting and funny about this is that more German grooves bought the LP 3 years ago while looking for the mysterious song. They bought the album, probably heard the song, and just figured it was similar vocal-wise but different enough to just completely rule out that there's any connection here. Overall, it's interesting to think how close we get to finding these songs at times, just to completely skip over and ignore massive leads. Another example of this is when Christopher St. Booth was discovered due to a copyright entry for ulterior motives, which was discovered about 3 or 4 months before ulterior motives got solved. The only reason why people didn't really dig into this further was due to the fact that Christopher St. Booth just completely either ghosted or didn't read the message. But it's just funny to think how close we can get to finding some songs at times. NY80s Tapes is a category of Lostwave songs, as I don't really know how else to describe it, which were recorded off of various radio stations and sources during the 1970s to the 1990s. They were all recorded by Kenny Cathead on YouTube, where they would go on to upload every single song of theirs onto YouTube as well. This falls into the group Lostwave category in the From My Mind Discord server, which is where OPs get channels for all their songs they've uploaded, and is also where outfake channels reside. But outfakes will be covered further down the iceberg. They've since uploaded a video simply titled Unknown, which is where all 300 plus Lostwave snippets of theirs has been recorded and uploaded, of which over 200 have since been identified. And my god, clicking for random points of this video is like playing Russian roulette. 1 second you're actually listening to good stuff, and then you're listening to like some silly sounding music, then the next you're listening to Screams of the Damned or whatever, but yeah. This actually scared me once. Now there's a couple of major Lostwave songs that have surfaced from this, and the most notable of these are Uptown People, which plays at 1 hour, 8 minutes and 3 seconds into the video. Uptown People is probably the most popular song to come out of this, so the song would go on to reach over 50,000 views on YouTube, but on May 29th of 2024, Tripork would end up finding the song by skimming through random channels which uploaded rare 1980s songs, until they discovered a song called Break Down Those Walls by Dolce Vita, and what do you know it? It was the song. Another is Waiting for the Countdown, which plays at 19 minutes and 13 seconds into the video, which was actually solved a few weeks ago. Waiting for the Countdown will be talked about more in the next layer, but it is more to it than you may think, being a song with 2 OPs. But that's for further on. Overall, these songs are quite interesting cases. The video's description also links a spreadsheet of which you can find which songs are solved or not, and if you want to get more involved, the searches for these songs are taking place, as always, in the From My Mind Discord server, the link of which will be at the top of the description. Poor Christmas is a still unidentified Lostwave song recorded by Renee M, who is also known for being the OP of various other songs like Eastern Wind, Trip to Rio, Documania Instrumental, On the Roof, and yeah, I can't think of anything else. Most of these songs will be covered further down though. Poor Christmas, however, is probably my favourite unsolved song out of Renee's collection. There's a lot of others' favourites as well, but the song pretty much has nothing known about it, so I want to cover how it began and where we're kind of at now. So, just for context, Renee recorded all their songs off of various German radio stations back in the 1980s, and since uploaded them to their website, which is dginidevil.de. With their songs, they listed what they remember, the title and artist being from when the radio announcer announced the song name and artist. Now for Poor Christmas, they remember the artist's name being either The Face, The Faith, or The Race, and for the name, they remember it most likely being Poor Christmas, Pure Christmas, or Your Christmas. Now, just so you know, when Renee says he thinks he knows what the song name and title is, just take his word for it. He has a good memory when it comes to this type of shit. So, back on topic, let's fast forward to October 11th, 2009, where Renee would post a song onto What's That Song, I'm only mentioning this as not many people are aware of that detail, so I'd figure I'd just mention it. And leading on into the next couple of years, we do a massive time skip into early 2020, where on Spirit of Radio CA, user Lily would re-upload the original snippet from the website onto Spirit of Radio CA. This would help spark more interest in the search. Now, another running theory at the time, and I guess this is still somewhat up in the air, but it's that Renee recorded it off of NDR, who, as you all know, is where Subways of Your Mind was recorded. Whether this is true, however, is still up for debate though, as where the song was truly recorded is sadly unknown. Jump to November 25th of 2021, and Renee would upload the full song onto their YouTube channel, with the song being 4 minutes in length. This would also help spark further interest in it. The lyrics are another thing which are still being debated on, and Renee has since made a video covering what the lyrics could be in an attempt to narrow down what the song's actual lyrics could be. Nothing much has really happened, so I'm just gonna say that I think this case is somewhat sad, because this doesn't sound like a song that should be lost, but yet here we are. Not much has since happened, and right now it's just more so a guessing game of what the artist name could be or what the track name could be, as when Renee thinks they know what the track name is, they probably are correct in or close to some degree. Now, this may seem a bit far-fetched, but isn't it weird how Carl92 only recorded 17 seconds of ulterior motives? And you may say, well, that's all he had. He was just testing stuff out while recording from his TV. Well, then explain how he managed to record only 17 seconds. And those 17 seconds were the only part of the song in the movie which didn't have any stuff sounds. And add on to this, why was he so quick to just not give a shit about anything related to the song and completely ghosted everyone? So it's safe to assume that Carl is kind of a sketchy person. I'm not saying it could be a hoax, but when you really think about it, it starts to make more sense, but it's most likely this or the fact that he knew where it came from, and he was probably just embarrassed when he uploaded the song to What's That Song. So don't go hating Carl, we don't know for sure. I don't know. Light the Lanterns Illumination Night, or as many have dubbed it, the third most mysterious song on the internet. It's a still unidentified Lostwaves song which, similarly to what I mentioned at the end of the Poor Christmas entry, gives off this same eerie feeling like it shouldn't have been lost in the first place. It feels like too good to be unidentified, if that makes sense. The song predates to roughly 1985 to 1992, where the now defunct YouTuber Windows to Sky would find a tape in an office building in LA. On the label, it said, "Demo, listen today." Windows to Sky took this tape home and found the song. Around 2018 to 2019, they would first upload it to YouTube. And I don't know this for sure, as Windows to Sky has since deleted their channel due to some mass harassment from trolls, and since just wants nothing to do with this song, which I fully respect. The song would later be added to the Phone My Mind Discord server on June 29th of 2021, where the search would take place, but sadly nothing has really came up. The lyrics, however, paint a completely different picture, as the lyrics refer heavily to the Grand Illumination hosted at Martha's Vineyard, making reference to the early years and the story behind the event and the celebration as a whole. But besides that, we pretty much know nothing about the song. It's assumed that it's from the LA area, although we can really go off what the OPs somewhat remembered. And considering that they've cut ties with the search, this is kind of impossible now. Musicians from the Marford Vineyard area have been contacted, although nothing has came up from this so far. It's kind of strange how OP claims that it straight up stole this cassette tape, and it kind of seems like a sketchy story, but personally I do believe the OP's claim. Nothing has really happened, and frankly it doesn't seem like anything will happen with this case anytime soon. Something has happened. Now, I recorded this segment a while back, but since then a good lead has came up. On January 30th, 2025, Person of Distraction would end up posting a new lead. And this is actually quite a solid one. So from what I can gather, someone named Solana was contacted by someone named Becky, and they said they had heard the song being played live in San Francisco by someone who is being intentionally unnamed back in 2004 or 2005. Now, Person of Distraction dug up more info, and firstly, that the song being heard in 2004-2005 didn't really match up with Windows Disguise story, saying that they got the song in the late 80s. Although Person of Distraction has since said that the artist could have still made it in the late 80s. Secondly, they found the artist's Wikipedia page, and they didn't start performing until 1999 or 2000. Thirdly, Person of Distraction has found more songs by hers, and some of them don't really match up to Light the Lanterns. But this doesn't mean that much. Like, take Fex for example. You have Jenny and Talking Hands, which are both really upbeat, jolly and happy sounding. But then on the other hand, you have Subways of Your Mind, which is like a completely different tone to it. So, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't mean much. You have a lot of artists which do like a whole variety of styles of songs. I don't know what the term is. Lastly, due to what Person of Distraction found and what Solana mentioned, this could maybe not be the same artist as the original version. But if Windows Disguise story is true, there is still an 18-year gap from 1987 to 2005. Although, from what Person of Distraction mentioned, it could be the same vocalists. 18 years is a long time, and since we are humans, we evolve with age, and our voice tends to change with that. So I'm personally leaning on the side that this could be a good lead. So, it's a good lead, whatever. But, sorry about that. Credit to Person of Distraction, Becky and Solana for digging up this lead. That's all. No, this isn't related to that Layer 1 entry. That was for covers of Lostwave songs. This is pretty much just the opposite. Unidentified covers of songs. And in this I'll be talking about one, but there are two I want to mention in total here. Now in the Follow My Mind Discord server, there's currently two unidentified cover songs. An unknown cover of Eastern Wind by Chris de Burgh, and an unknown cover of Iceberg, which is Romanian for I Love You, by Stefa della Barbarulest. I'm incredibly sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I am terribly sorry. Now we're going to be just focusing on Eastern Wind, as Iceberg is the first entry I'm covering in Layer 4 actually, so it's best if I save that for then. But Eastern Wind was a song by Chris de Burgh, released back in 1980 on the album under the same name. The Lostwave version, however, was most likely made from 1984 to 1987, as it was recorded by Renee M., who, as we all know, was responsible for being the OP of other songs like On the Roof, Documentary Instrumental, and of course Poor Christmas. Now Renee would record the song sometime around 1984 to 1987, and would first post the song on August 19th of 2004 on the website nwoutpost.com, stating that they recorded it in the mid to late 80s and it sounded somewhat like Chris de Burgh, although they stated it probably sounded more European. But after this, the song would slowly pick up attention over the years, leading us into 2021, where the song would be added as a channel in the Follow My Mind Discord server, which basically kicked off the search fully. So you might be asking, why don't we just contact Christy Berg? And that seemed like the best option at the time, and back then people thought it was a good idea. So someone did, and what did Chris say? He knew absolutely fucking nothing. So that was kind of a dead end, but it was good to rule it out. Now from then until April or May of 2024, not much would happen, but as you probably know, this song is pretty much solved. Although, we are lacking the clear evidence, but what we do know so far is that the cover was most likely made by German musician Kai Knoll. So in late April of 2024, Reddit user Esquire made a post on r/Lostwave saying that they were trying to find the song, and in their searching, they found a German artist named Kai Knoll, linking one of their songs, Secret Lover, Cold as Ice, and just by the voice alone, you could tell that this was pretty similar. And after this, contact with Kai would soon be made, and he confirmed that yes, this was his cover. So, case closed, right? We have our guy, we have our proof, that's it, right? While I personally agree that this is him, we are still lacking full proof as of right now. So we're currently missing the full song, and normally when we're missing the full song we can use other means of verification, but there's no copyright entry for this that was ever registered. So basically his word of mouth is pretty much all we can go over. So until we get full proof, this song is still unidentified. So if you remember what I said about verification hell back in layer 2, this is basically a prime example of that. Vintage Lostwave pretty much refers to what the name suggests, old Lostwave songs. So basically just unidentified stuff from before 1960. So I'm going to talk about 4 cases of this. One from 1920, one from 1930, or 40, I don't know, and 2 from the 1950s to 1970s. So let's just quickly get through them because Jesus, this is a lot. Hold On While You Can is a now identified Lostwaves song which originates back to 2020, coming from a fan-made concept album similar to Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker, which is more so just a fan album of that one, named Everywhere in the Beginning of Nowhere by The Care Bear. Now similarly to The Caretaker, Everywhere in the Beginning of Nowhere is primarily made up of 1900s to 1950s ballroom samples, and out of all samples for the first 3 stages, all were identified to the original songs used, except one, which was D3 from the first version. Yeah, there were 3 versions of this album, I don't know why, don't ask me why, but the final song that had to have its sample identified being Hold On While You Can. So here is that exact song. Now, the song would be the final one to be identified out of all of them. Why? Because we didn't know where this song was. It probably wasn't on archive.org, which is like our most searched area around the time, but we just didn't know where this came from. So, in early to mid 2022, people started searching for it, as it was a small search team who tried to find new samples for all of the Care Bears albums. And this was pretty much spearheaded by someone who I want to give a massive shout out to, called Average, who's done absolutely a ton for this sort of stuff, and if it wasn't for him there would be barely anyone actually paying attention to the albums by this guy, so props to him. So He started searching for it in about October of 2021, although this would really not go anywhere. Now, in early 2022, people will start searching for it more, with prime examples of someone downloading about 10 gigabytes worth of 78 RPM records to try and see if this one artist had made it, which they didn't. But in 2022 and 2023, nothing happened really, but cut to late 2023 and this song would make contact with the Lostwave community. Now, this would slowly get people interested in the song, but nothing would really happen until April of 2024 when it got solved, being suddenly found out to be said by Vic Mears and his orchestra, being found by Giorgio Nicola Rigas Nenadov. I pronounced that name wrong, I'm sorry. Now, God, this was confusing, but it's gonna be hard to explain why the song's name was sad, but I have a reason to why it is. Now, but to explain it simply, the Care Bear was simply making Everyone Meaning of Nowhere, Stage 2, and considering the album's theme and how it mirrors Everyone in the Time Stage 2, he needed to use sad-sounding samples for the album. So most likely he just did some search term like sad 1920s song and just managed to find it, but that's pretty much why I think the Care Bear sampled this song. So, yeah, the Caretaker as a whole will be mentioned further down in the next two layers, so just keep that in mind. Circus Waltz is the second song I'm going to mention here, due to it, in my opinion, most likely being made from around 1930 to 1965. Now, the song is an unidentified sample which comes from the 2017 song Break by Freddie Dredd. Various parts of this song were sampled, but the most known by the Lostwave community is the intro. So I'm just going to play the intro from it, just to give a better picture of what this song actually sounds like. So throughout this song, this sample is pretty much playing throughout the entire song. The intro is the clearest instance of it playing, but listening to the full song, you can 100% hear what sounds like different sections, and God, it just feels so familiar to me. So, I'm someone who has listened to my fair share of 78 RPM records online, and from my small and definitely not being over-exaggerated knowledge of them, this sounds like it's probably from some band or orchestra from the 1930s to 1960s. You can tell that it definitely has that feel, but considering how muffled it feels, I'm honestly leaning to it being before 1950 and 1955. Now, on the other hand, Freddie Dredd has gone on to say that he doesn't know the sample, obviously, although what he could remember is that in the name there's circus being in the title of it. Now, this could be wrong, but I feel like if it's correct, then the song could have been made for some soundtrack for some old 1930s to 1960s movie, as it definitely sounds like something that would have been made for entertainment purposes, rather than being something for like a regular release of some band back then. It's hard to describe, but TLDR, in my opinion, this sounds too high quality to just be a small single commercial release. So it's probably an obscure release by some big artists at the time, or it was made for the sole purpose of being used in an old movie or film or whatever. H-Bomb is probably the most popular out of these four, and is still an unidentified Lostwave song, which originates back to 1998 on a compilation album of rock and roll songs from the 1950s titled NY80s Tapes. What is this word? Which comes from a 1998 compilation album titled Rockin' Acetates. Okay, that's good. The song would be posted onto YouTube for the first time by Civil Defense Spot. Over the years, this would help the song gain more popularity, with notable examples being its inclusion in some mods for Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4, but cut to mid-2024 and the song will be added as a channel to the Film on My Discord server. And since then, nothing has really happened with it. So let's just move on to the fourth song that I'm going to mention in this one. I'd Rather Be a Rock Star is, to nobody's surprise, still an unidentified Lostwave song, being posted to What's That Song by Babache51 on May 16th of 2011. This is what they posted.
All my life, I'd rather be a rock star anytime. Pushing a broomstick from 9 to 6. I'd rather be a rock star to get my kicks. 'Cause there's nothing I'd rather do than play my guitar just for you. And I hope that one day soon I'll find a place inside your heart.
Now the snippet is 30 seconds, but considering you can hear what is most likely a lyric being cut off, it's very possible that the OP may have the full song. Now we can't really check this because they've been inactive for well over 12 years by now, but fasting forward to now, the song has since gotten a somewhat small search effort going for it, as a channel for the song is being made in the Film on My Discord, but besides that, nothing is really known about it. Now I do have a bit of hope as for where this song could be, as many people think it's from the 1970s, but I actually think this is correct. In my opinion, it's most likely from 1955 to 1975. Why 1955? Well, the late 50s introduced this sort of stuff, especially pretty much just creating what rock and roll music was. And a notable example of this was with 1958's Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. I feel like this song could be out there on the internet, and there's hundreds of channels which upload similar sounding music. So if you're interested, I feel like a good place to look would be on YouTube channels which upload old records and songs from this kind of genre, and especially from this kind of time frame. Chatswood Song, or the Chatswood Song, is a still unidentified Lostwave case of which I've barely seen many people even cover on, and considering this is my video, I'm going to change that. So the search pretty much originates back to November or December of 2019 in a thrift store in Newtown, Sydney, Australia, where the song's OP, Chernyat, who was also generous enough to offer to help out with this, was browsing through the DVD section until coming across something that caught her eye. A VHS copy of 1994's The Little Rascals. Although upon buying this, the tape inside contained a blank VHS tape with the words Chatswood's Youth, Mono, being written on the label. Now when she played the tape, what she got was a 30-minute home video of sorts of various teens and young adults and other people from the Chatswood Youth Centre recording what seemed to be like a documentary of sorts. And further discoveries about the video itself have been made, all of which could lead to the song I'm about to mention solve, but I haven't mentioned that yet. You heard nothing, you don't know anything yet. Pretend you heard nothing. But most notably, there's been developments that have revealed the documentary's official title, of which being titled Video Surveillance Race Around Chatswood, with the dates that the video was recorded on being on the 16th, 23rd, and 29th of July 1997, and on the 6th, 13th, and 20th of August 1997. But the most important part about this and how this connects to Lostwave is that for the first 3 minutes and 55 seconds of the video, there is a song which has since sparked a search effort in the Lostwave community, dubbed the Chatswood Song, the Chatswood Youth Song, Woohoo, She Came On, or the most mysterious song in Australia. Here is that song. So the song is somewhat buried under other noise, specifically the talking of various other people present in the video, but you can still tell that it's there for the whole length, although the vocals are almost impossible to make out with this. Now after listening, the song interested Chernyet, but after trying Shazam and various other song finding tools, no results came up. And well, wanted to get an answer, she turned to Reddit, posting about the song on r/Sydney, and being familiar with the most mysterious song on the internet, turned to r/Lostwave as well. Over time, interest in the search would grow, as the song would be dubbed its name and it would get further traction, especially from C.W. Schultz's video, 10 More Mysterious Songs, and their Lostwave Iceberg video, which definitely didn't inspire this video. The song would also be added as a channel on the Fall My Mind Discord server on June 29th of 2021. From then to now, a bunch of details and leads have since surfaced, with various people from the documentary being found and contacted, although none of them have a definitive answer to what the song is. But some of them did give us more info, with it being discovered by YouTuber Strange Australian that the documentary as a whole was made as a response to a North Shore Times article, which described the members of the Chatswood Youth Centre as lawless thugs and criminals. Now, this article would go on to make the members of the youth centre make this video in retaliation. Strange Australian would also contact an ex-member of staff known as John, who said he didn't recognise the song, but that the documentary was part of a state government-funded video project called Art Start 97. In September of 2024 though, they would go on to discover and archive old web pages for Art Start, which also had mentions of another Art Start project, this one aiming to be a contest for young and local musicians, and to send in demo songs of theirs, with 4 to 5 bands having a chance for their demo songs to be officially recorded and released on a compilation CD. This was ran by someone who worked for the Sydney Council of Ku-ring-gai, and is also someone John had mentioned when in contact with Strange Australian. The CD's release would also coincide with a live concert hosted in mid-August at the St. Ives Youth Service Centre. Later on in October, Strange Australian would get into contact with an ex-youth worker of the Ku-ring-gai Council, and of which they claim that the demo song submitted could be somewhere in their archives, although this is still unknown if so. Now, a solve for the song could be on the horizon, as with the evidence known about the video and song, it's just a matter of contacting people who could have an answer. As we've pretty much just got all the fundamentals in place, we have a good lead for where the song could have came from, so it's a case of finding this lost CD or finding some demo tapes that were submitted in for the CD contest, but it's probably looking towards a solve in the horizon. Now, basically a bunch of newer leads have came up, but just a heads up, what you just heard was recorded about 2 weeks before what I'm saying now, so but over the past while, Strange Australian and Chernyet have tracked down someone named Luke from a local music archive group, which tends to preserve and archive various indie alt type music in Sydney from the 80s to the mid 2000s, as well as Anthony Dang from the 90s punk band Infringement. Now, these two guys know each other IRL and have helped out with the search by sharing it on their social medias, so this spreads the search towards like a more local audience. And with that, people were led to a Chatswood youth band for the first time ever called Box 144. And despite the fact that there was connections with the song and the band, it would be confirmed that they weren't the artist. But this could mean we are getting closer than ever because we have a lot more people locally, because a lot of people have been contacted and have been made aware of that could play a major part in promoting the song or just helping the song get solved in general. So a solve for the song could be really close, but we just gotta wait and see. Now, I'd like to mention some other videos I'd like to recommend to anyone who's curious about this song. I don't want to really drag this out longer as I've got like 20 other entries to do for layer 3, but there's a playlist in the description for some videos which go over the song. I would really appreciate it if you would check them out if you're interested in the song. And lastly, I'd like to give a massive thank you to Chernyat for helping me out with some info here. She's been the person who's sort of spearheading this whole search, and I'm thankful that she offered to help me out with some info here, so thank you to her. I really appreciate what you've done. Alright, moving on. Thanks. Uploaded by Slimuck to YouTube on July 5th of 2008, Forgive and Forget is a still unidentified Lostwave case, recorded from a radio station on what's believed to have been on the 5th of April 1980. The song has since become highly sought after in the Lostwave community, slowly becoming one of the biggest and most mysterious cases to date. Now, pretty much what we know so far, and all this comes from what the OP has told us, was that it was recorded onto a cassette tape off of a Swedish radio station during what they assume was on the 5th of April 1980. Although this could be incorrect as it's going off what OP wrote down on the label and some other factors which I'll mention later. In the description of the video though, they have stated the listed songs recorded on the cassette tape, with the mysterious song being the only one unidentified, although something to note is that they weren't all recorded on the same day. Some were recorded before, during and after the recording of Forgive or Forget, which also explains a weird cutoff at the start. We can also assume that the song was made in 1979 or 1980, as a common theme with the track list is that all except one, excluding the obvious, were released in 1980. The biggest lead that we have right now is the National Library of Sweden, which has an archive for radio stations in Sweden, so people thought that if someone went to the library in person and listened to what they had archived for the 5th of April, they'd find the song somewhere. Right? Well, someone went to the library and checked, and the surrounding dates, and as well as May 4th, just in case OP got the dates switched around. And nothing really happened. In my personal opinion, the library lead could still be the answer to this entire search, as they never stated that everything was recorded on April 5th, so it was probably during the first or second half of 1980, or just 1980 in general. I don't know what I'm saying, but if anyone wants to travel to Sweden to listen to hours upon hours of radio songs over the whole of 1980, they'd be my guest. But to anyone who does, then all I'm gonna say is good luck. MySpace pretty much needs no introduction, being a social media service founded back in mid-2003 and being the most popular social media service in the early stages of the internet, also being a place where many indie bands at the time would upload and post info about their bands and music. Over the years it would end up peaking in users in 2006 to 2009, but would start having a steady decrease in popularity, slowly dying out as newer social medias came up. Cut to March 18th of 2019, where MySpace would try performing a server migration, which would sadly end up making them lose all their photos, videos, and most importantly, all their audio files, which were all stored on the servers. So that means that everything before 2016 was just wiped completely. How this relates to Lostwave though is due to that pretty much every single indie band at the time had a MySpace page. Information and just songs from various indie bands at the time may have just become lost media completely. Over the next couple months following the server wipe, the Internet Archive would have archived and recovered over 1 million songs, with a website named Lost MySpace being created. This is where all these files will be stored. MySpace originally had around 50 million files, although people have still archived 1 million of them. So that means there is pretty much 98% of files that have been completely lost to time. This prevents us from searching old MySpace pages for potential Lostwave leads, and considering that MySpace was the only place some bands uploaded their songs to, some songs could be completely lost to time due to this data loss, which has and will make searches harder and even makes them impossible to fully solve. Alright, now this one is somewhat connected to the previous entry and is also another personal favorite of mine, which is My Pretty Doll. The song was first uploaded to What's That Song in 2021 by account 12399, who was posting a snippet from what their friend had gave them. It was clear that the OP wasn't a native English speaker, although they were still helpful and gave us key info, like a Vocaroo upload, which was an extended snippet of the song, as well as telling us that their friend recorded the song from what they believed was in Great Britain, alongside the fact that it was probably recorded from a college radio, as well as the fact that the tape ripped with the longer sample that they uploaded to Vocaroo had a side 2 to it. Soon after, the actual OP, who goes under the username Song ID Needed, would show up in the thread, saying that they lost the tape but it was recorded back in 2006 and in Spain? What? Then the What's That Song poster would soon call them out on their bullshit, cause they weren't the OP. Although, the actual OP would soon come into the thread, and under the username MPD Steven, who said that they didn't even know who the person posting the song to What's That Song was. They would then post the full song on Vocaroo, so we now had the full song. OP would also tell us that there was actually 2 tapes they recorded, and would give us a track list for both tapes, with tape 2 having 4 unknown songs at the time. But since then, song number 1 and 4 have since been solved, although the other 2 have yet to be solved. All 3 of these will be discussed further on down the iceberg. With this, we also got confirmation that MPD Steven did record this in Great Britain, with them stating they recorded a lot of radio stations in the Sheffield area. On top of this, most songs on tape 2, which My Pretty Doll came from, were recorded in 2009. So that narrowed the time frame the song was recorded in from being just in 2009 itself. So from then to now, a lot of potential leads have came and went, but right now the song remains unsolved. This is one of my favorite Lostwave songs that are currently unidentified, and I'm honestly so confused as to why it didn't get much attention, like with songs such as Try to Smile Again, How Long Will It Take, and everyone knows that. It does sound like it could have easily been one of those big searches back in 2023 and 2024, but sadly in 2025 the song is still unidentified. Trip to Rio is another song recorded by Renee M, of which being recorded in October of 1987. It was one of the songs that were uploaded to their website, Devil. The song, as Renee has it currently, sits at a length of 1 minute and 22 seconds. And just to show anyone who hasn't heard it yet, here's a short snippet from the song. Now, the song itself is honestly low quality in both recording and production, so it's kind of hard to make out lyrics, but from what people can gather, here's the most accurate lyrics so far. And with typical Renee fashion, Renee gave a theory for what the name and artist could be, of which being Trip to Rio by Bass Bazaar or Space Bazaar. So, just for a reminder, so when Renee says they know the name of the artist, they're most likely right in that the song would gain a small following over the years, but on May 11th of 2022, Discord user Terrified Toad would bring up an old group they found called Paradise Bazaar, and frankly, all this seemed to line up, with a similar time period where they made stuff, and being from Germany, and their name kind of matching up, as well as some other theories. Paradise Bazaar was found in a wiki listing for the Senate Rock Competition, which was a competition hosted in Berlin between 1979 to 1991, to give up-and-coming bands a chance to get their works out there. Now, surprisingly, most of the demo tapes submitted are still kept in the Berlin Archive of Youth Culture. As of right now though, Person of Distraction, who also runs a Now Listening To YouTube channel, which is a channel dedicated to documenting Lostwave songs, would reach out to people at the archive, as well as reaching out to the wiki admin where the Paradise Bazaar lead came from, although nobody has came back yet. Person of Distraction, or known on YouTube as Now Listening To, is someone who I got a lot of info for, and also someone who moderates a Form of Mine Discord server, as well as a Lostwave subreddit. I haven't really managed to give a proper shout out to them, but if you like Lostwave stuff, his channel is fully dedicated to that, so if you have the time, please go check it out. It is worth it. Okay, considering up to this point, I've discussed most of the searches from Renee, I think it's just right to cover them a bit more. Renee M is commonly known for being the OP of various big Lostwave songs, such as Poor Christmas, Trip to Rio and Eastern Wind, as well as documented instrumental, and most importantly, Stay the Second Time Around, or as it's officially called, On the Roof by Johan Lindell. This was considered the most mysterious song on the internet before the most mysterious song on the internet, of which the search lasted for about 10 years from 2003 to 2013, and some, myself included, consider it the grandfather of Lostwave in a way, as it's pretty much the case which fully kicked off Lostwave as a whole. Renee also owns a website named ddevil.de, which has been up since around the early 2000s, which was used to host and promote Lostwave cases that they had and which other people had. And if you look at the website right now, you can see 3 songs which were recorded by Renee which are listed, of which being Poor Christmas, Eastern Wind and Trip to Rio. Looking down we can see other unknown songs by other OPs and previously lost songs that Renee recorded, such as Documenting Instrumental and Stay the Second Time Around, as well as previously lost songs that others searched for. But we can use the Wayback Machine to take a look back to what the website was like 15 years ago, so doing that brings us here, and it looks kind of the same to say the least. With 26 songs being listed, both solved and unsolved, we can see that all of these have placeholders, and at the top is Stay the Second Time Around, or Stay, as it's being listed here. The artist is also being listed as Steen Lemroy, which is wrong, but Renee had an approximation for what they remember the radio announcer announcing the song name and artist being. And back before On the Roof got found, it was thought to be Stay by Steen Lemroy, which isn't true, but yeah. So out of 4 out of 11 that were still unknown at the time, Renee guessed about 4 of these, and there was 11 unknown songs here at the time, and some of them are still there, obviously, but Renee guessed the name and artist for a couple of them, and 4 out of 11 were really close, of which being Sat by Stephen's Cafe, Beautiful by Connacht, which was thought to be Kiss Me by Stax, Dreamtime Lover by Quango Mouse, which was thought to be Dreamtime Lover by Q Tango Mouse, and Different by The Dead Adair, which was thought to be Different by The Dead Adair, but ending with an RE instead of an IR. Fuck, try saying that 5 times fast. So, truthfully, Renee has a good memory for when it comes to this stuff. No doubt about that. Being able to remember the name of a song you recorded back in the mid-1980s is crazy, and actually getting that right on multiple occasions is impressive. It is really impressive. It's somewhat interesting looking back at the songs listed here. They're old, somewhat forgotten songs, and Renee tried shedding more light on them, but nowadays most of them have since been forgotten once again. If you have the time, make use of the Wayback Machine and go on old websites like these to try and see what they were once like. It's honestly interesting, and it seems like something fun to just fuck around with for an afternoon. If you're the type of person for looking back into that, it doesn't have to be like general Lostwave stuff, but it's a cool feature in general. So I'd honestly recommend you checking out if you have the time. It's crazy and you can use it on pretty much any site. This is pretty much what the name implies. SIivaGunner rips with Lostwave jokes or references. Now, for those who don't know, SIivaGunner is someone who has been uploading high quality rips of various video game OSTs, including alternate versions and older versions of them, and has been doing so since 2016. But if we cut the bullshit and be serious for a second, as unfun as that sounds, SIivaGunner is basically a channel made up of hundreds of contributors, and having since uploaded 30,000 game soundtracks and OSTs with spins on them, like turning the song into a reference to another media or whatever. Like, for example, taking a song and, by using its sound font, rearranging the melody in such a way to make it, firstly, reference a whole different song, meme, or whatever, and secondly, manage to make it feel like a whole new song in some cases. There has been a lot of media and references that has been included into some of these, and Lostwave is no exception, as in mid-2020 when the Most Mysterious Song was picking up attraction and getting interest, Subways of Your Mind would get its own rip, with New Pork Bossa Alpha Mix Mother Free, with it basically just rearranging various parts of the song to sound like Subways of Your Mind, and it's quite a good match. Like, having played Mother Free myself, it is a good match. Subways of Your Mind has since gotten hundreds of other rips made for it, most notable of which, in my opinion, and one I don't know why wasn't made sooner, is Boombox Song 5 Lethal Company. Subways of Your Mind wasn't the only song which people made rips of, as everyone knows that, and of course other Lostwave songs like There's a Man, How Long Will It Take, and Dance for Hours a Day, getting rips made of them as well. Another example is with the Lost Media Day event, which was an event that the SIivaGunner channel hosted, as they do a lot of events for a lot of reasons. But basically, the Lost Media Day event was an event where for 48 hours, every rip was Lost Media themed to some degree. And when you have something that for 48 hours is referencing Lost Media and is primarily made out of music, there's going to be some Lostwave rips in there. Now, this almost got its own entry on the Iceberg, as right after the event ended, every single one of these rips were privatized. But 3 days later it got relisted, but a couple of them did become Lost Media for a short time. So while SIivaGunner almost got another entry on this Iceberg for this reason, this isn't the last time that SIivaGunner will be featured on the Iceberg, but that's for further on. Now, I mentioned this briefly while in layer 2, but How Long Will It Take came from a Russian bootleg DVD. This entry dives a bit more into that. The DVD's name is
МУЛЬТИПАРАД,
which when translated translates roughly to multi-parade or multi-parade, as some people have dubbed it online. And the people behind the DVD is unknown, but it's most likely made by this ghost company, which goes under the name Media Alliance LLC. So, the name is rumored to be a play on word for hit parade, combining the Russian word for cartoons and animated media with multi-film. So, multi-film and hit parade gives you multi-parade. So How Long Will It Take was found on Multi-Parade 3, and as of right now, we only know about Multi-Parade 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9. So we're going to go for them in order, basically. Multi-Parade 1 is pretty much lost and there's no evidence online of it existing, but it most likely does exist. Multi-Parade 2 was found in late November of 2024 by someone in the Russian Lost Media Discord server, although we knew of its existence before How Long Will It Take was even found. Whether this DVD has How Long Will It Take on it is unknown. Multi-Parade 3, as we all know, is the most popular one. It's where How Long Will It Take comes from. The DVD was found in October of 2023, and it's also where we found the second snippet of How Long Will It Take. Although, on the other side of the DVD, there wasn't How Long Will It Take. In fact, there was another song. So, let me just play a snippet of it now. So this song is unknown, but hold your horses before you go fucking decide to search for this. It's just some royalty-free stock music or whatever, so. Multi-Parade 4, on the other hand, has a bit more to it, providing us with two snippets on both sides. The first being a higher quality version of the first snippet we had, and the second side had an entirely new snippet altogether. Multi-Parade 7 and 9 we only have photos of. 7 had a listing online for it, but it was sold back in 2017. 9 we only have one photo of. 1, 5, 6 and 8 are lost media, but they could exist, although we don't have any evidence for it. Stuff like this manages to hit quite close to home for me. Being someone who was brought up in the early 2010s, watching TV shows and movies on those cheap DVD players from the mid-2000s is quite a fond memory for me. Now, since I'm a 2007 kid, I was brought onto stuff like this when it was starting to grow out of fashion. But I still remember me watching stuff like Little Einsteins and Peppa Pig on some old crappy DVD player. And what stood out especially to me was those menus that the DVD players had. And while they weren't as crappily made as the Multi-Parade DVDs, as they weren't bootleg DVDs, it still kind of hits close to home, if that makes sense. Uploaded to ACC 59, Sometime before or during July 1st, 2009, I Know is a still unidentified Lostwave case. The song was uploaded to acc59.nm, which was one of those personal websites made to host unknown songs, which were either ran by a singular person or at most a small group of people. This is similar to what Renee did with D Devil. There, the song would be credited as 90 I Know, although this wasn't the song's name. He also attached an MP3 of this song as well, of which I'm going to play a short snippet of now. Over the next few years, the song would briefly get attention in 2010, as on November 27th, 2010, What's That Song user Frame12345 would re-upload the song there, followed up by just 8 days later by SIivaGunner re-uploading the song on December 5th, followed up by less than 3 weeks later it would be re-uploaded by AK Watts on December 22nd. Now after this, it wasn't posted anywhere for 2 years. It's unknown if the song was re-uploaded to anywhere else on the internet during this time, but cut to January 4th, 2013, and tunnel.ru user Vladimir A would repost and upload the full song, stating that someone recorded the song from tape, which explains a heavy distortion present, and as of now it's kind of rumored that the song was recorded from tape multiple times over the years, which would explain its bad quality. Some of our commenters in the thread chimed in as well, with Alexandra55 chiming in saying that it sounded like the group The George Baker Selection, which actually surprised me because it kinda does. Over the next couple years, the song would be reposted to multiple sites every now and then, onto different sources and different websites and different places. But with the rising popularity in Lostwave, this song would also get some attention in 2023. Along with growing interest in the topic. Another thing that people have speculated is the lyrics, but with the distortion, it is kind of hard to make them out. Various people have tried guessing the lyrics, and I feel like some of these could be right. We have got some parts which I feel like are 100% certain, but then again, we could be completely wrong considering how distorted this is overall. Jumping to today, we currently have not made much progress so far it seems. Although the song recently got a higher quality version found back in late 2024, it's not much to go off of, but it's a bit more higher quality than the tunnel.ru post. If you wish to get involved, you can. As always, join the Fun of Mine Discord server. This one is sorta confusing, so I might have gotten some details wrong, but Treadmill of Time as well as Chart Rundown and Here to Have Fun, which were all Lostwave songs from the same artist. The songs were first mentioned allegedly back in 2002, supposedly being on a bootleg Depeche Mode album called On Solo Ways. Over the next couple of years, the songs would be mentioned every now and then on the internet, but all this would lead up to the start of 2020. As someone would upload Chart Rundown to Spirit of Radio, but in September of 2020, Bluey Wolfsea would mention the upload in the Mysterious Song Discord server, which was a server for the most mysterious song of the time. This is where the search would truly kick off. November 2020 also marked the beginning for the Fun of Mine Discord server. Treadmill of Time, Here to Have Fun and Chart Rundown would get channels with this. In March of 2021, someone named Nick Lawrence would comment on a video of Treadmill of Time, saying he knew the author. Nick was a part of a short-lived group in the 1980s called Memory Bank. Cut to August of that year, and someone under the username Human Racer would end up reaching out to Nick. Nick said that the song was written by Tim Addy and Jonathan Lewis. Jump another few months to November, and Human Racer would come back with an update from Nick, saying that he had reached out to Tim Addy, although he had yet to respond. Tim Addy was the key to the solve. Another year later, in November of 2022, and still no response. Although we wouldn't have to wait long, as in February of 2023, he finally got a response from Tim. So this was good. We had confirmation that the song was by them, but it wasn't concrete proof. So now we do a massive time skip to September of 2024, where Sam from the Former Mind Discord server would reach out to Tim again, but this time we got sent back a photo of the tracklist which pretty much confirmed it. This was one of my favourite Lostwaves songs, but I was always confused as to why I never had a channel in the Former Mind Discord server, but it pretty much did, as it was the primary focus of the fake Depeche Mode songs grouped channel, and it never got its own since it was already in verification needed the whole time, so why make a channel for something that was basically solved? Zoltan is a now identified Lostwaves song, which is a whole rabbit hole in of itself, so let's just get into it. It originates back to 2007, where What's That Song user Mozika would upload a 30-second snippet of a song onto What's That Song on May 29th of 2019. And for anyone curious, here is the snippet. So to point out the elephant in the room, this sounds a lot like Moscow from Genghis Khan. You can hear it in the song style and in the vocals, so it was 100% some sort of weird cover or a similar sounding song. That's what a lot of people figure straight away. The What's That Song thread would also notice some other details, mainly being that the song was being sung in Hungarian. Just for context, Moscow is a German, not Russian, song. So while they sound similar, they're in completely different languages. The What's That Song poster, Mozika, would send only one comment in the thread, saying, "Hi everyone, I don't remember where I took this sample. I will search my archive to see if I have the video." Video? So that means it could be from some sort of music video. Now this could seem like the OP is misremembering things, and considering the song is sung in Hungarian, many were quick to assume that the OP was probably from Hungary at that time, although looking back now, they were probably from France or somewhere, but that's for further on in the century. So them not being a native English speaker is probably true, but not in the way you think. Now during 2022 to 2024, the song would start to gain traction, quickly becoming a very sought after song in the Lostwave community, leading to January 5th, 2024, where the song would be added as a channel in the Former Mind Discord server. This is where the song would get further attention. All of this would lead to March 28th, 2024, where u/Prudent featured 2412 on the Lostwave subreddit would find a video on Dailymotion while searching for the song. The video is just called Zoltan and was uploaded onto Dailymotion by Stanley Kubik. So the song was just sitting there in plain sight all this time, and since we had the full song, case closed, right? Well, not really. This just leads us into the second half of the search. Just a few hours later, Mr. Jaxo from the Former Mind Discord server would end up finding another video, this one being uploaded a year prior, in 2007, and it had French subtitles. So people were quick to find some details that were in the video. One of which, and most importantly, is that it was made for an ad for a French bank called Crédit Agricole. This led to people finding mentions online of something called Credit Agricole Zoltan Clip/advertisement, which was credited to a French advertising agency called BTEC Euro and DAC Tyrac Productions. Over the next few days, Nell from the Form of Mine Discord server would contact the producer of the French Dailymotion video, who went under the username SamDProd or SamDProduction, or Samuel. Samuel said that he was a part of the commercial's production, although sadly he did not remember who made the song. But he did know one thing. The song's name was Zoltan, and it was in reference to someone who worked on the song. With this, we had a name, both for the song and the artist, and what we can assume was a photo of the guy. So, next logical step was to track down and contact people named Zoltan in France, who would have been doing this sort of stuff from 2005 to 2012. So, Nell quickly got to work on this, brute forcing LinkedIn profiles to try and track down the Zoltan, and considering this was an uncommon name in France, it would be kind of easy. And easy it was, as Nell soon came across someone named Zoltan Lantos, who was listed as a sound technician and an instrumentalist, and would you know it, he was listed as having worked as a sound technician and instrumentalist at BTEC Euro from 2006 to 2010. We had our guy. Nell soon got a hold of Zoltan, who confirmed that yes, he was the Zoltan, but joking aside, he provided Nell with proof that he was the creator of the song, and also provided the names of others who worked on the song as well. Credit to Prudent Feature 2412, Mr. Jaxo, Nell, Samuel Dumas, and Zoltan Lantos for finding the song. This is one of my favorite searches, and it has realistically died down in the past couple months, but it was really good while it lasted, and I was there when it got solved, so I was glad to be there. So, moving on. Now, this is pretty much what the name implies. Lostwave songs which were found to be by famous artists, and there wasn't much to go off of on this entry, as most of these I found were hoaxes, but the main example which I could think of was Beat Boy, who made Try to Smile Again. Beat Boy was actually the composer of Rockefeller Street, although I covered that further down, and that's where I go into a lot more of Beat Boy's history and all that stuff, but yeah. Then again, this was only the real example I could find of this, as most of these were just less than 10-second snippets of live versions or demos of famous songs which just happened to be posted onto What's That Song for whatever reason, so stuff like this is extremely rare, I'd say. Alright, welcome to the final entry of Layer 3. When it comes to Lostwave, or just lost media in general, every country has its own share of lost media. But from my own experience, and being a native English speaker myself, I've never had the chance to understand types of lost medias and mysteries from other countries. So to end Layer 3, I'd figured I'd take a sort of dive into another country's Lostwave cases. This being Brazil's. Now Brazil, in my opinion, has the second biggest Lostwave scene, with third place being Russia and Germany and countries like Japan following afterwards. So for this, I'll be looking at 3 cases from the Lostwave Brazil Discord server, but before we begin, I'd like to give a thank you to PNWN Tribal and
Boca de Fumo,
who are both moderators on the Lostwave Brazil Discord server. This is where all these searches take place, so I'd recommend you join there if you wish to get more involved with them. Thank you to them for helping me out, as I'm someone who can only speak English. So them being from Brazil and speaking Portuguese helped me out a bit with translating all this info, so without further ado, let's just begin. Also, I'm using Google Translate as like a translator just to pronounce some of the Portuguese words, as believe me, I've tried pronouncing them, but I just couldn't, so I'm terribly sorry, but yeah. Okay, let's just begin.
Mas que quadrilha é essa?
Or when translated, meaning, what gang is this? Yes, I'm not making that up. Which was posted onto YouTube in 2011 by Barada VM. Now just for context, here's what they posted. The song isn't really bad quality, although it was still clear enough for people to guess the lyrics, and it still sounds good enough to be something worth putting interest in. And people were interested. Now, the first running theory was that since it was from the early 2010s, it could be from a funk music website, as this was very common for artists and groups to upload their works to places like these back in the day.
Boca de Fumo.
Would go looking through 40 funk websites on the Wayback Machine, but none of them had the song, until someone under the username
Pisca Pisca 1994
would find a song named MC Guro, Get Out of the Way, C12 is the Power, which had similar vocals and a similar style overall, so many were quick to draw connections, and this would eventually lead to the solve, being identified 14 years later as MC Guro, Specialist
Quadrilha.
from 2009.
O bonde tá fortemente.
Or when translated, meaning the tram is strongly, whatever that means, is a Lostwaves song which was found in a YouTube video from September 2009, titled Funk or Prohibited Funk when translated. Here is a snippet from that song.
Sem enxame, sem alarme, doutor, não tenta nada. O bonde tá fortemente, é o assalto à mão armada. Sem enxame, sem alarme, doutor, não tenta nada. O bonde tá fortemente, é o assalto à mão armada. Os vermes tá de brincadeira, porra.
After looking for a while, user copyright T-Strike from the Lostwave Brazil Discord server would find an old blog post, where a portion of the song's lyrics were included, and a now deleted, unfortunately, upload of the song from 2 years earlier in 2007, uploaded by a user named
Tadiao.
They were also thought to be the author behind the song, as a comment on the song was trashing it, and he responded with, "If I made it, it's because I have something to do with it." This led people to assume he was the creator, but nothing could be confirmed, which made the song pretty much go cold. But just over a month later, people would find the Lincoln Funk
Baixada.
channel, which was a lead for
Fiel Proibidão.
at the time, which was another search. He was contacted and surprisingly knew the song's creator, being MC Rafa.
Do Marapé.
Lincoln had actually uploaded the song in the past, but due to the creator's wishes, he was asked to keep the video private. But he was given to make it public. The song was then identified as MC Rafa
Do Marapé Bonde do Resgate.
from 2007. The name, when translated, translate to Rescue Tram.
Dance que a vida é sorrir.
Or when translated, meaning dance that life is smiling, or known in the Brazilian Lostwave community as the Brazilian Everyone Knows That, comes from a 1997 movie of sorts called The Sexual Adventures of Mike Jackson, or Michael Jackson, which was a porno about Michael Jackson. That's pretty much it. The song can be heard in the movie, and I'll now be playing a snippet from it, although if I accidentally let any porn sounds slip in, then I apologize.
que a vida é sorrir. Dance, 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 dance que a vida é sorrir. Requebrando sem parar. Vai mexendo devagar. Num bailado sensual. Mexe aqui que eu vou gozar. Dance, 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 dance. Dance que a vida é sorrir. Dance, 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 dance. Dance que a vida é sorrir.
Now, one thing to note, and similarly to Everyone Knows That, is the song is credited in the credits of the movie, being by a group named
Contraponto Group.
although there is literally nothing online about them. Now, I've nothing else to really say about this song, but porno songs in general are an interesting case, as most of them in the community aren't really talked about nor searched for. There were two in the Film on My Discord server, being Baby It's Not Too Late and Talk to Me, which will both be covered later on in the Iceberg, which both came from related NSFW sources. Most of these songs are by really obscure musicians who were just trying to make a quick buck, and probably wish to be left anonymous. A prime example of a porno song's authors being left anonymous is the unknown song Friends, which will be covered down in layer 4, which came from a 1970s porno named Daddy Knows Best, which, fuck off, whose producers were contacted, although they said the creator of the song asked to be left uncredited, which is honestly respectable considering how different social and cultural norms were back then compared to now. The only cases of like a porno Lostwave ever having its artist credited in the movie's credits were from a really obscure search named Everyone Knows That or Ulterior Motives, which I've seen no one talk about. But cutting the bullshit for a second, Everyone Knows That was a really lucky case, as most porno films back then had their songs uncredited. So if Christopher and Adrian were uncredited, it could have made the search last way longer. But back on topic, these cases are like a really interesting side of Lostwave, and the world is a big place, and it's not just English speakers or whatever your native language is, it's got a whole lot of people with different cultures and those cultures of different languages and different stories, and that applies to Lostwave. So once again, thank you to PNWN Tribal and
Boca de Fumo
for helping me here. I greatly appreciate it. If you wish to participate in these searches or get more insight into other searches and what the ones I talked about hold, then join the Lostwave Brazil Discord server or join the Lostwave Brazil subreddit, both of which will be linked in the description. Okay, thanks. Moving on. So with that, layer 3 is pretty much finished. From here on out, we pretty much go below commonly known stuff and go ahead first into some non-Lostwave related things, but still relevant to music mystery, so it counts, I guess. But with that, layer 3 is done.